From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
It's 5 o'clock here on your Wednesday. Good morning to you. I'm Nicole Griffin.
Nicole, good morning. I'm Rafael Sanchez, and these are your headlines on this October the 21st. Who should get a coronavirus vaccine first when one becomes available? We're breaking down the state's newly released plans just for you.
Plus, October is National Bullying Prevention Month. This morning, a young girl shares her story only with WRTV in hopes of helping others.
And a new initiative to reduce domestic violence in Indianapolis and in central Indiana. How the program is honoring the legacy of a fallen IMPD officer. Welcome to Good Morning Indiana on this Wednesday. It is a WRTV Storm Team Alert Day. And Todd, we know that Nicole loves to wear flip-flops to work, and hopefully she wore rain boots and brought an umbrella this morning.
Yeah, Rafael, I do, but I did not this morning. I had the tennis shoes on, okay. Todd, so I was stomping in those puddles this morning, and the rain is coming down, that's for sure.
You know, there are a lot of puddles everywhere here across central Indiana, and a lot of probably locally flooded roadways with the leaves clogging storm drains, with it being the fall season. And so you just really got to give yourself some extra time here this morning, and I'll show you there are some flood warnings out there. But let's get right to radar. The heaviest of the rain and some lightning strikes here now through a good chunk of Hancock County, from New Powell through Greenfield up towards the Shirley area. Some very heavy rain. You see these lightning strikes. Of course, lightning makes every storm dangerous, does not make it severe. And there's no severe weather out there this morning. That is the good news. But the leading edge of this heavy rainfall with all that lightning is going to start to drop southeast a little bit as it makes its way east as well. So Newcastle here shortly, eventually into Rushville at 5:29, and then over into the Greens Fork area closer to the bottom of the hour. We'll come into the metro area. Some lightning strikes here as you work your way up towards the Castleton and Geist area with pockets of very heavy rain, and then we'll slide a little further off towards the west. Starting to lighten up a little bit here across parts of this area, but Greencastle, you've seen almost 4 inches of rain in the last 24 hours, so you don't need any more. And then to the north, we have moderate rainfall and a few lightning strikes in Muncie over towards the Winchester area. This will start to weaken over the course of the next couple hours. That's the good news as it drops down to the south. So for those of you in southern locations, you really haven't gotten into the rainfall as of yet, but eventually you will hear this morning in a weakening state. That is the good news. But here are our current flood warnings that are out there. It does include the northern half of Marion County, then all the way back towards the Terre Haute area. So obviously, if you see flooded roadways, do not try to drive through those. Turn around, find an alternate route. Any flooding out there should subside pretty quickly, especially if you clean those storm drains in front of your homes and in your neighborhoods. Nicole?
All right, Todd, thank you so much. Just a live look outside this morning at one of our INDOT traffic cameras, I-65 and I-70 at the north split there, where, as Todd mentioned, the roads are very wet this morning. So make sure to give yourself some extra time if you can. Head out the door a few minutes early because you will need to slow down out on the roads. Developing this morning, the Indiana Department of Health has submitted its proposal to the CDC for guidelines on who should get a coronavirus vaccine first when one becomes available. Under the plan, state health officials are prioritizing healthcare workers and those who are at a greater risk of death from COVID-19. Among the general population, long-term care residents would be prioritized, along with Hoosiers who have underlying medical conditions, those who are 65 and older, people at risk for severe COVID-19 illness, those at risk of acquiring or transmitting the virus, and people with limited access to vaccination services. You can read the entire draft of Indiana's vaccine plan on WRTV.com.
Nicole, for the 14th consecutive day, health officials report more than 1,000 new cases of COVID-19 in our state. 1,551 additional Hoosiers have tested positive for the virus. That brings the state's total number of positive cases to 150,664. An even grimmer statistic, 48 new deaths were reported on Tuesday. That is the most in a single day in Indiana since May. Health officials say the deaths occurred between October the 8th and Tuesday. To date, 3,775 Hoosiers have died with the virus.
And Raphael, WRTV is continuing to hold state leaders accountable about their plan to keep Hoosiers healthy. We received this statement from the Department of Health saying, quote, today's total includes deaths that occurred over the weekend, but were not reported until today's dashboard, which is something that we see frequently. As Dr. Box has said, being in stage 5 does not mean that Indiana is back to pre-pandemic times. And Hoosiers need to continue to wear masks, practice social distancing, wash their hands, and stay home if they are sick in order to curtail the spread of the virus. Throughout the pandemic, we've asked Hoosiers to consider their own health and risk factors, as well as the risk factors of their close contacts when making decisions as they go about their daily lives. We expect an update from the governor and other state leaders coming up this afternoon.
And now turning to our Democracy 2020 coverage. This morning, Indiana's 3 gubernatorial candidates hope that you have a better feeling about their thinking on the views impacting many of you after their first initial debate. Governor Eric Holcomb, Democrat Dr. Woody Myers, and Libertarian Donald Rainwater, they answered questions from voters in a virtual-style debate held last night. The 3 were separated as a COVID-19 safety precaution. In the discussion, the candidates focused on several issues affecting Hoosiers. One of the main topics of discussion, the increase in gun violence.
I know that we can do a much better job on gun safety in Indiana and nationwide, and I'll fight for that as your governor. I'm the only candidate that's been named a gun sense candidate by Moms Demand Action, a group that's now nationwide that is fighting to make sure that we have better gun laws across our nation. I'll be in Washington, D.C. testifying to make sure that we get the federal changes that we need, as well as working here in Indiana to improve our gun laws to make our state a lot safer than it is today.
I don't believe that red flag laws are appropriate because they violate the due process clause of the 14th Amendment. I also don't believe that the problem is guns. People are violent because there's evil in the world. You can't legislate that. What you can do is try to create an environment where people understand that if they do something as an act of aggression against someone else, they will pay a severe penalty for that aggression.
Our Indiana State Police partner with local communities, and we'll continue to do that. We also want to make sure that we protect our red flag law, that makes sure that folks who are dangerous to themselves and to others are identified and those weapons are removed with law enforcement and the court's involvement, of course.
Other topics discussed include the state's response to the pandemic, economic development, and the environment. You can watch the full debate right now on WRTV.com. There is no debate that bullying is wrong and can hurt many people. And Nicole, it just happens that October is Bullying Prevention Month. And this morning, a young girl is sharing her story only with WRTV.
Our Kelsey Anderson joins us live now with her advice to others who may be experiencing something similar. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning. So bullying can come in many forms. It can be physical, it can be name calling, it can be threatening. And for Bella Lazarides, her bullying came in the form of exclusion.
It's not normal to hurt every day, and I thought that it was.
Bella Lazarides is in the 9th grade. She says since about 5th grade, she realized she was being left out of everything.
I picked last for things. I even worked on a three-person project alone because I was the only one. I usually worked with the teacher. Just no one wanted to talk to me, and I didn't know why.
She says she never told anyone how she was feeling, and eventually the isolation piled up and she had thoughts of harming herself.
You know, it's really hard when when they get to a point where they say they don't want to live anymore.
Bella's mom, Kim Stancombe, says looking back, there were signs that Bella was hurting, but she didn't think her social child would be left out in a crowd.
It made me feel like I was really out of touch, like I didn't really have a handle on what was going on with her emotionally, and it did come to some serious situations because of it.
Her advice to parents is to recognize isolation and notice when your child isn't spending time with their friends. As for Bella, her advice is to not suffer in silence.
I know it's hard to talk to people about it, But at some point, it's just going to keep building up, and it's not healthy for it to build up. I mean, at some point, you just need to tell someone, like, it's not going to get better if you just keep on trying to deal with it yourself, because it hurts, and it takes a toll on your mind to try to go through that alone.
So Bella is taking some time out of the classroom. She's attending online school with Hoosier Academy, but she says that she's hoping she can gain more confidence and learn more about herself. That way she can go back to school in person next year. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
Kelsey, thank you. And a new initiative to stop domestic violence will honor a fallen IMPD officer. The Law Enforcement Action to Halt Domestic Violence Against Men, Women, and Children, or LEATH program, is named after Officer Breanne Leath. She was shot and killed in April while responding to a domestic disturbance call. The initiative will work to identify domestic violence offenders who commit a crime with an illegal firearm, targeting them for federal prosecution. It will also provide support to domestic violence survivors, connecting them to services and resources. Todd.
All right, it's a WRTV Storm Team Alert Day, at least alert morning. Most of this rain will be out of here by mid-morning, but it is impacting your morning commute. Rain now progressing eastward across central Indiana and to the south. So southern locations, this is the first time you're getting into some of this heavy rain and the lightning. No severe weather, that's the good news, but from Greenwood to Greenfield, now into the Newcastle area, some really, really heavy rain. And you can see it extends back up to the north here from Carmel to Noblesville into Anderson, downtown Indianapolis. Seeing the heavy rain as well. So the impacts for you on the roadways, obviously your windshield wipers will be going very, very quickly here throughout the course of the morning hours with this heavy rainfall. Look out for some ponding on the roadways as well. As the afternoon goes on into the evening hours, though, you're in pretty good shape as we'll be dealing with just mostly cloudy skies. We'll break down the rain for you in more detail with Truecast hour by hour coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues right here on WRTV. All right, as we go throughout the course of the next couple hours, we are going to see this rain make its way through portions of central Indiana. It's starting to drop a little further to the south now, ponding on the roadways, likely in some of these areas. We have a few flood warnings to talk about as well. We'll have your full forecast coming up in just a couple minutes.
All right, Todd, thank you. After canceled events, remote work, and business restrictions due to the pandemic, the atmosphere in downtown Indianapolis took a turn for the worse.
Yeah, it's been tough for a lot of people, a lot of businesses, and now there's an effort, Nicole, to make the heart of our city more welcoming again. If you're going downtown these days, you'll see safety ambassadors and extra police officers who patrol the areas of Monument Circle and Market Street and Georgia Street. Also, roads and sidewalks are being power washed regularly now by the Department of Public Works. All of this arranged or paid for by Downtown Indianapolis, Inc. And some business owners say the efforts are already making a difference.
Well, as many Americans and businesses continue to struggle financially, the battle over the next stimulus package goes on. While there seems to be no sign of a deal in the Senate, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin are making progress. Negotiations include jobless aid, a second round of $1,200 stimulus checks, as well as money for schools, testing, and vaccines. Today, the Senate is scheduled to vote on a proposal worth roughly $500 billion. It's similar to a plan Democratic leaders rejected earlier this year.
In Louisville, a judge has granted a grand juror's request to speak publicly about the proceedings in the Breonna Taylor case. Hear the details this morning. That ruling gives grand jurors the option to come forward if they choose or can remain anonymous. Attorney Kevin Glogauer released a statement on behalf of his client, known as Anonymous Grand Juror Number 1. The juror claims the jury was never asked to consider homicide or other charges against the police officers in the Breonna Taylor case. Glogauer also said his client will hold off speaking publicly for now.
Meanwhile, one of the officers involved in the raid that led to Breonna Taylor's death is speaking publicly for the very first time. Officer Jonathan Mattingly spoke exclusively to ABC News and the Louisville Courier-Journal. Mattingly says he and other officers announced themselves the night they entered Taylor's apartment, but Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, says he didn't know who was barging into their apartment and fired one shot. Investigators say Mattingly was shot in the leg, then fired his weapon 6 times. The incident led to nationwide protests and calls for the officers involved to be fired. When asked about his feelings, here's what Mattingly had to say.
Mostly frustration because there was so much disinformation out. This is not relatable to a George Floyd. This is nothing like it. It's not an Ahmaud Arbery. It's nothing like it. It's not a race thing like people want to try to make it to be. It's not. This is a point where we were doing our job, we return fire. This is not us going hunting somebody down. This is not kneeling on a neck. This is nothing like that.
Mattingly is one of 6 LMPD officers currently under investigation for their actions the night Taylor was killed. You can watch his full interview coming up at 7 on Good Morning America. It is 5:18 and Todd is standing by. Todd, heavy showers moving across the state.
Yeah, you know, thunderstorms as well here, Nicole. That's why it's a WRTV Storm Team Alert Day, because it is impacting your morning commute almost anywhere you are here across central Indiana. And if it isn't, it will here eventually over the next hour or so. The good news is nothing severe here. Even with all these lightning strikes, it's just plain old lightning. We are not reaching any severe criteria, but heavy rainfall right now from Morristown into Knightstown into Newcastle. You see some of these lightning strikes here in portions of Rush and Henry County, and then lighter rain as you work your way back towards Greenfield. Now some pockets of heavy rain from Greenwood to just east of Franklin. We'll track the leading edge of this heavy rainfall as it pushes into areas that haven't seen much in the way of rainfall so far this morning. Cambridge City here within a couple minutes, and then eventually into the Richmond area as we get a little closer to about 5:45. We'll come into the metro area. Some heavy rainfall once again in the northern portion of Marion County with a lightning strike there. So basically from Pike to Washington Township over into the Castleton and Geist area, some heavy rain, and then some on the southeast side of town as well. A little lighter now, thankfully, back off to the west. This is where we'll have some flood warnings that I'll show you in just a second, and then heavier rainfall and a few lightning strikes through Hamilton County, Noblesville, into the Alexandria area and into Muncie as well. Some areas have seen over 4 inches of rain in just the last 12 hours, as this rain has basically been just following itself across the area. But it's now going to start to drop down to the south. So places like Bloomington, Nashville, Columbus, and Seymour, you will eventually start to get into some of this rain. Here is the flood warning that stretches from far southern portions of Hamilton County, northern Marion County, back all the way to the state line just north of Terre Haute. That's the area where we've seen 3 to 4 inches of rain, and those flood warnings are in effect until 8 o'clock here this morning. We are starting off a super wet. The good news is the whole day is not a washout. Most of this rain should be done by about 8, 9 o'clock, and then it's just the chance of a few spot showers later on this afternoon. And here's how it plays out for you on Truecast. The bulk of the heavy rainfall shifts to the east here between 7 and 8 o'clock this morning. By the time we get to 8:30, it's shifting a little further to the south, albeit a lot weaker with just a few downpours and more in the way of light rain. And then by the time we get to the noon hour, we're starting to wrap things up, although can't rule out the chance of a stray shower in the afternoon hours. But for the most part, it is just going to be cloudy this afternoon for most of us across the area, and mild. Look at these temperatures ranging from 68 right now in Bloomington to 59 in Peru, Indianapolis at 63. So when you walk out the door, you're not walking out to a very cold rain. It actually feels very spring-like out there if you haven't been outside already. Temperatures into the mid to upper 60s here later on this afternoon with that mainly cloudy sky. And then as we get into the day tomorrow's the best weather day of the week. Take advantage. We get a chance to dry out. Partly cloudy skies. Look at the temperature all the way up to 80 degrees. Very, very mild. Friday still mild as well, 76, but the cold front will come through Friday afternoon with another round of showers and thunderstorms. Those storms could be borderline strong to severe, and then following that front, a big time drop in temperatures. Saturday and Sunday only in the mid 50s. Nicole.
All right, Todd, thank you. We do have one crash to report at this hour. This is I-70 westbound near Emerson Avenue. We do know the right two lanes are closed here in this area on the northeast side. And you do want to avoid this area or just try to take an alternate route or allow for some extra time because this is expected to last for at least the next 60 minutes. And we do want to take a live look outside this morning. Our photographer is set up in downtown Indianapolis, giving us some views of the rain coming down in the Circle City this morning. Just make sure to give yourself some extra time as you head out the door because the roads are wet this morning. It is 5:22. You're watching Good Morning Indiana. Stay with us.
So on gloomy mornings like today, we could all use a dose of positivity and personality. A big congratulations to our good friend who celebrated a great moment just a couple of days ago. Of course, our Nicole Griffin, the pride of Ben Davis High School on the city's west side, married the love of her life, Chris. What a beautiful picture. Now, unlike today, their day had a beautiful weather day, and of course we're just hoping that Todd could really match today with that weather. But look at those smiles.
Thank
and
you.
Congratulations to the beautiful couple.
So kind. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, the weather was good. It was like
beautiful.
80 and partly cloudy. Yeah, so perfect. Yeah, once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
In person from me here, as well as Raphael there. The weather, yeah, not nearly as good today. It's a Storm Team 6 alert day, although primarily just for the morning hours here. Take a look at radar, and you'll see exactly why. Heavy rain falling across a good portion of the area. Nothing severe here. That is the good news. And this rain starting to weaken just a little bit across the area, which is good news, but there is some flood warnings that are out there. We'll deal with this rain as it slides east and south, probably through about 9 o'clock. Then the rest of today is going to be fairly dry and mild with temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. So the longer you can stay at home before you start your morning commute, the better off here this morning you will be. We'll talk more about the rain in much more detail for you coming up when we continue right here on Good Morning Indiana.
From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
Thanks for joining us here at 5:30. Rain and thunderstorms continue to move across central Indiana.
It is a WRTV Storm Team Alert Day, and Todd, in your honor and in honor of the radar, as you can see, Nicole and I are team players. We both wore a lot of green today to match the radar. So we wanted to let you know that we support you as you get us through this day.
All right, well, the green's light rain, so that's the good news. So you always wear light here. We never want you to wear orange or red here. We'd get into the heavier rainfall, but that's what we do have in some areas this morning. And this is going to impact your morning commute. There's no doubt about it if you're in some of these areas where the heavy rain is falling. It's starting to come to an end in Lafayette as well as Peru, but for those of you to the east now, you're just getting into this heavy rain. You notice the lightning strikes here from Rushville to Newcastle as well, pushing now into portions of far western Wayne County. We'll come into the metro area. Still some really heavy rainfall from Noblesville over to the Fishers area, into Carmel, northern portions of Indy, back into Brownsburg, into Danville. The southern half of Indianapolis just dealing with a lighter rainfall, and then to the north here, quite a few lightning strikes in Winchester and back up into the Muncie area. None of this is severe though, but obviously with the leaves clogging storm drains, leaves on the ground, slick conditions, certainly a possibility for your morning commute, as well as a little bit of ponding in some local neighborhoods. It's probably not a widespread issue for us. This rain will continue to push east and drift to the south at the same time over the course of the next couple hours, and that's the good news. It'll be weakening as it happens, and eventually as we get into the 7:30 hour, we're looking at the rain starting to move out of the area. At this point, it's more of a nuisance than a bigger impact like it is right now with these heavy downpours and the ponding on the roadways. So the longer you can stay home and delay your commute this morning, the better off you will be. The good news is that you walk out the door, it's pretty mild temperatures on average, right around 60 degrees. That's where we'll stay this morning. As we start to dry out this afternoon, high temperatures eventually, Nicole, get into the mid to upper 60s.
All right, Todd, thank you. We do have some good news for those northeast side drivers. We told you about a crash at I-70 near Emerson Avenue that was blocking 2 lanes of traffic. It looks like you can see emergency crews there on scene, and that crash has moved out of the roadway. So some good news if you're heading out the door this morning. Raphael.
Nicole, police in Owen County are asking for your help to find a murder suspect believed to be in Indianapolis right now. The Owen County Sheriff's Office is looking for 51-year-old Edwin Bland. He's suspected of the October 17th murder of 44-year-old Leroy Sherfield. Sherfield's family discovered his body in his home. The autopsy confirmed he had been stabbed multiple times in the neck. Bland is believed to be back in Indianapolis after fleeing from Kentucky. If you have any information on his whereabouts, you're asked to call 911 and you can remain anonymous. Also this morning, police are asking for your help from anyone who witnessed a deadly crash on I-69, this happening on Monday. It happened near mile marker 227 in Madison County on Monday afternoon. That crash killed the boys' basketball coach at Cowan High School, 50-year-old Lee Ingalls. If you have any information about this situation, you're being asked to call the Indiana State Police. Their number, 1-800-527-4752.
Now to the latest on COVID-19's impact on Hoosiers. Indiana has now surpassed 150,000 total cases. The State Department of Health reports 1,551 new cases of the virus. That marks the 14th day in a row with 1,000 or more new cases. An alarming increase also in the number of deaths. The Health Department confirmed 48 more Hoosiers have died with the virus, which is the highest single-day report since May. Indiana has recorded more than 3,700 deaths since the pandemic began. And 4 people have died at a Boone County long-term care facility following a COVID-19 outbreak.
And Nicole, WRTV investigates Kara Kenny. She's been following nursing home concerns since the start of this pandemic and joins us now with what health officials are saying this morning.
The Boone County Health Department says as the weather gets colder, they anticipate an uptick in flu and COVID-19 cases, especially among the vulnerable population, including those in long-term care facilities. Signature Healthcare at Parkwood has 37 residents and employees with active COVID-19 infections. 4 people have died. The Boone County Health Department is calling it an outbreak. They're working with Parkwood to provide support, testing, and mitigation efforts. Over the last month, Indiana has had 40,000 new cases of COVID-19, but only 3.5% of new cases have been in long-term care facilities. WRTV Investigates asked the health department how this outbreak may have started.
We can try to contact trace as best we can, but the thing is we may never know. It could have come in from, I know that Parkwood had been allowing visitors after stage 5 was enacted of the reopening plan. So it could have been a visitor, could have been a staff member, could have been custodian. It could have been absolutely anything. I mean, all it takes is just that one person to introduce that virus into an environment.
And certainly it's been well proven for quite some time now that when there's increases in community spread in the greater surrounding community, that there's greater risk for outbreaks to take place in long-term care facilities. So, these are relatively one-off right now, and but they are increasing in number.
You can look up any long-term care facilities' COVID-19 numbers on the state's dashboard at coronavirus.in.gov. Working for you, Kara Kenny, WRTV.
Kara, thank you so much. The latest numbers show that 2,113 residents have died in Indiana's long-term care facilities. That's more than half. So to put that in perspective, that's 56% of all of the state's COVID-19 deaths. Nicole?
Last night, Indiana's candidates for governor met to debate various issues, including how to handle the pandemic. For the first time in history, the debate was held in a virtual format with Governor Eric Holcomb, Democrat Woody Myers, and Libertarian Donald Rainwater answering questions from separate areas. That was for a COVID-19 precaution. In the discussion, candidates specifically focused on Governor Holcomb's statewide mask mandate.
The reality is that there is no one-size-fits-all solution to anything, and there is no, if you do this, you will be protected, because this is a virus, and you can only do what is easiest and best for you to protect yourself. So the reality is the one thing that we do know is that the Constitution is there to protect our individual liberties and make those choices for ourselves.
Yes, we do need a real mask mandate in Indiana, a mask mandate with consequences for the small percentage of Hoosiers who choose not to protect themselves or protect others. It's very similar to what we did years ago when we told people that you couldn't light up a cigarette anywhere you wanted to light it up. You had to go into an area where it wasn't going to hurt other people. It was also similar to the decisions that we made to putting your kids in a car seat. It's very important to protect their safety and to protect the safety of others.
Our individual liberty needs to be guarded. When that liberty or those actions start to infringe on someone else, that's where we have to take a look at the public safety. It's just like a seatbelt. It's just like wearing shoes in a restaurant. It's just like fire codes. They're meant for safety procedures. We're in an emergency, a public health emergency, so that we do have a state mandated mask requirement throughout the state. It's a strong statement that says this works.
Governor Holcomb first issued a statewide mask mandate back in July. No penalties are included in this order. The candidates also discussed other topics like economic development and gun violence. You can watch the full debate right now on WRTV.com.
Beyond downtown Indianapolis, there's now an effort to offer economic relief to the east side of Indianapolis. A new grant program is specifically offering funds for small businesses on the far east side. We're talking about minority, immigrant, and women-owned businesses with between 1 and 10 employees are now eligible to apply for this program. The owners of 2 Far East Side businesses, Kingdom Cleaners and Miss Marcia Sweets, tell WRTV they feel like their community has been forgotten.
Grants would help not only Miss Marcia Sweets, but it would also help build up this plaza here. It would also build up the community.
I can go home and sleep. I can go home and sleep for at least a couple of nights, you know what I mean? Instead of going home and worrying about how I'm going to pay these bills.
Grant recipients will receive up to $5,000. The money can be used for things like rent, payroll, as well as operating expenses. The deadline to apply is this weekend. For more information on this grant, go to WRTV.com and click on this story. Nicole?
Raphael, October is Bullying Prevention Month, and this morning our own Kelsey Anderson is live with a young girl's story she's telling in hopes it doesn't happen to others. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Nicole. So we all know that there are many forms that bullying can take. It can be physical, it can be making threats, it can be name calling. And for Bella Lazaritas, her bullying came in the form of exclusion. Bella Lazaritas is in the 9th grade. She says since about 5th grade, she realized she was being left out, and some students would make a point to leave her out, and the isolation began to make her feel like she was not as good as her peers. She says she never told anyone how she was feeling, and the isolation piled up, and eventually she had thoughts of harming herself. Now that she's on the road to finding a happier sense of self, she has this advice for everyone.
You don't have to be a rude person, and you don't have to put other people down in order to climb on the social hierarchy. I mean, it's not, and people will like you more, and you don't realize the toll that you have on other people's minds when you're doing that at the time. But if the people who picked on me knew what I was, all that I was going through and all that I have been going through and through these last few years, I feel like it might not be different, but I feel like it would probably change them. And I know that's the same for a lot of kids. I mean, a lot of kids have been through the same.
Because of the bullying at school, Bella is now enrolled in an online school, Hoosier Academy. She tells me this gives her the ability to learn more about herself and gain the confidence she needs to go back to school next year. Now, if your child is being bullied or you suspect that something is not right with them, I've got resources linked for you on what you should do next over on the WRTV News app. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
All right, thank you there, Kelsey. It's WRTV Storm Team 6 alert day for the heavy rainfall that's been making its way through the area during the overnight hours. Some areas well over several inches of rain and some flood warnings out there off to the west and into northern portions of Marion County. As far as the rain right now, heavy rain and some lightning strikes from Rushville pushing towards Connorsville right now. The heaviest of the rain in all of Indianapolis has been in the northern portion of Marion County, from Castleton and Geist, the Washington Township, back into Pike Township, down towards the Speedway area, in Warren Township, Brownsburg, some heavy rain right now, and then a real rough go of it here in northern portions as well, especially I-69. Heavy rainfall really from Indianapolis through Pendleton and then north through Anderson, up north of the Muncie area. If you could just wait before you have to get on I-69 for maybe another half hour or so, that heavy rainfall will be off towards the east. As the kids head off to the bus stop, some of you are done with the rain, most of you still dealing with the rain through pickup time, and then as the kids head home from school, you head home from work. If you are not doing work at home, temperatures will be in the mid-60s. We'll start to dry out this afternoon. That is the good news. Much more on the rain that's out there, and a look ahead to your weekend coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues right here on WRTV.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. It is 5:46. Grab the umbrella as you head out the door this morning. Storms are moving across the state. We'll check back in with Todd in just a few minutes, but this is a live look downtown. Give yourself some extra time as those roads are wet this morning as you head out the door. As Election Day nears, former President Barack Obama is hitting the campaign trail for his close friend Joe Biden, starting with a speech in Philadelphia today. Obama is going to target a handful of critical battleground states. Democrats believe the former president can energize voters in the closing stretch of the presidential race. The Biden-Harris campaign believes Obama can help win over Black men, Latinos, and young voters. In the Trump campaign, also making a stop in Pennsylvania, President Trump spoke at a rally in Erie last night, but First Lady Melania Trump was not in attendance as scheduled. She canceled plans out of caution for her health. Mrs. Trump is reportedly still experiencing a lingering cough after her bout with COVID-19. She was not expected to give remarks at the rally, but it would have been her first in-person appearance at a campaign event outside of the White House in more than a year.
Nicole, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention really taking a tough stance on travelers who don't mask up. According to interim guidance from the CDC to prevent the spread of the COVID-19, passengers and operators of public transportation should wear masks that cover their mouth as well as their nose. That includes people on planes, buses, ride shares, and any other public transportation. The CDC even goes as far to say that passengers who refuse to wear masks should not be allowed to board or to be booted off as soon as possible. You'll have to wait a little longer to take a trip to Disneyland. The theme park will be closed for several more weeks after new guidance from California health officials. It says the parks are only allowed to reopen when their county is out of the state's red tier level. Disney has blamed the California restrictions on causing thousands of layoffs. Now, Disney World in Florida has been open since early July. And you know, Todd, come Thursday, Central Indiana will be the happiest place on earth when the warm weather returns and all this rain just goes away.
Yeah, you know, we really needed the rainfall here across the area. We probably didn't need this much in this short a period of time over several days, but we can take it. The ground's very dry. That's why we don't have any widespread flooding out there. It would be more localized flooding in neighborhood streets, and mainly because storm drains are clogged by leaves. So if you've been with us here since the start of Good Morning Indiana, you noticed several things here on radar. We don't have that solid line all the way across the state from east to west. It's kind of broken up now here on the far western side of the state, but still some really heavy rain in spots this morning. And part of that is in Pike Township, Washington Township here. As you cut across 86th Street, it's going to be a rough go of it. 465, the northern half of the loop here. Very heavy rainfall will slide a little further to the north. Pendleton impacting I-69 here, US 36 there, and then State Road 38 as you head off off out of Madison County into portions of Hamilton County. Likely some ponding on the roadway there. And then as we slide a little further off to the south and east, a few lightning strikes remain. We had more lightning strikes earlier in the morning. No severe weather, but Rushville now into Cambridge City. Connorsville, some very heavy rainfall, and then back off to the west where this was a solid band of rain. You notice some pockets of some heavier downpours here and there, and a little cluster of lightning just south of Crawfordsville there and north of Greencastle this morning. Then a few lightning strikes here a little further to the north in Muncie, back up towards the Hartford City area, Gas City, and then eventually into Marion. For those of you in Bloomington, Seymour, Columbus, you really haven't seen a whole lot in the way of rainfall. This will start to drop down to the south, and I do think you'll start to see some rain, but you're not going to get into the real heavy rainfall that has fallen across parts of the northern half of central Indiana. And look at some of these rainfall totals. This is just the last 12 hours. This is not including the rain that we saw earlier in the week where we saw several inches, but over 4 inches of rain near the Greencastle and Rockville area. As you come into portions of Hendricks County, over 3 inches of rain and 2.5 to 3 in northern locales. And here's where that flood warning is in effect, just north of Terre Haute, all the way into the northern half of Indianapolis. And I wouldn't be shocked if this gets extended here into portions of Hamilton and southern Madison County over the next few hours. As we go forward into the 8 o'clock hour, most of the rain is shifting to the south. The longer you can delay your morning commute, the better off you will be here throughout the course of the morning hours. And then by this afternoon, we'll have clouds around and maybe a hit or miss shower, but it's definitely drier this afternoon. So we'll drop the alert day for you here after Good Morning Indiana once we get through the morning commute. Temperatures nice and mild this morning. We're in the 60s, in fact, close to 70 degrees in Bloomington. We'll stay in the 60s throughout the entire day today. Temperatures won't really move a whole lot, but they will be on the upward tick tomorrow, which is great news. 80 degrees on your Thursday with mostly sunny skies as we work our way into Friday. Still mild, but Friday we'll have to contend with a pretty strong cold front coming through and the potential for maybe some strong to severe storms, followed by much cooler air that'll be in place for Saturday and also on Sunday. Nicole?
All right, Todd, thank you. Let's take a live look outside this morning at those wet roads. This is I-65 and I-70 there at the north split near downtown Indianapolis, where you can see traffic is moving just fine. And good news, despite the storms moving across the state, no major crashes to report at this hour. Raphael.
So, Nicole, as you are shopping for my Christmas gift and Todd's Christmas gift and Lauren's Christmas gift, a reminder to please, please, please shop early this holiday season and then get it to that postal service as soon as possible. And that's because the pandemic has caused delivery companies to work overtime, and that strain is only expected to get worse over the next couple of days. Experts say that starting Thanksgiving, 56 million packages are expected to be shipped per day, including on weekends. That's an excess of 7 million packages that delivery services will have to deal with. And that could mean a delay if you're opting for free shipping. Experts say this season it may be worth paying for shipping even if you qualify for that free option.
Retailers are trying to use the cheapest form of transportation, which is the ground service that can take up to 5-6 days. And during this holiday season, it may take an extra day or two.
That's a good warning there. If you're using express shipping, it's still best to get that package in the mail by when? Before December the 18th. UPS, FedEx, and the Postal Service all have similar shipping dates. You're watching Good Morning Indiana on this Wednesday, October the 22nd. So there are moments in life when the word joy is appropriate, right? But that word joy may not be just enough to capture a special union. So check out these pictures. A beautiful day for our good friends. Nicole Griffin, sitting there at the anchor desk, married the lover of her life, Chris, back on October the 10th. And here's what's clear. This picture reminds me, all these pictures remind me, that Chris, you married up.
Aww.
And you are one lucky guy. Congrats to the couple. And Nicole, welcome to the Married People's Club.
Thank you so much. I love those photos. Those were my favorite. It was a beautiful day. I appreciate the shout out. Thank you so much.
And we made you come right back from your honeymoon and get up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I know. And back from Florida to this weather, Todd. Like, what is going on?
I didn't make the schedule. I'm just saying. I didn't make the schedule here.
I know. It's all good.
All right. It's a storm team alert day for you here across the area as we continue to deal with heavy rainfall. The worst of the rain right now stretches from 465 and the 69 interchange there in northeast Marion County all the way through southern Madison County up into Delaware County and then eventually into the Portland area with heavy rain. Then there's some spotty downpours here in Boone County near Lebanon and Crawfordsville, but the trend will be for the rain to diminish and move off to the east here this morning. So we deal with rain through about 8, maybe 9 o'clock, and then the rest of the day is mainly going to be just cloudy but mild as temperatures will be in the mid to upper 60s. Your full forecast and your latest news and traffic headlines coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues at 6 o'clock.